Our next conversation is about food safety. And safety here has very many aspects. We do not want to get into them. Let our guest actually be the one who tells us about them. Rizwan Yusufali is the program director at the Millers for Nutrition. Riz, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well.
Thank you for having me here.
Asante sana for joining us. As we get into the conversation, the first thing we'll do is welcome you with the day's quote. And this will come from Janet, but it's not her quote. It's something that was said by somebody a long time ago that she'll be telling us about.
One day
and let's see whether it makes sense. One day she'll come and tell us. In fact, this word was said by a lady called Wamunyi. Wamunyi Bogwa was a young lady in her 20s, in 19 or whatever. No, you were not in the 90s.
20s and 19, okay. We'll sidebar, Eric, we'll sidebar. But this one is by Ayikwe Arma, who is a Ghanaian author. And he once said, our history is a long night of pain, but it will end. What do you make of that?
It's quite inspiring in many ways. It's telling us there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? I think, yes, the pain part I see is that we do need to fix our food systems.
Right.
And I think the end goal is to make a well-nourished nation. So that's how I would relate that to.
So let me ask you, Riz. The food that we eat, overall, on a higher percentage, is it safe or is it not safe?
It is safe, I would say, overall.
At least.
I just wanted that
the
assurance and just exhale. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because food is kind of, you know, it comes about through our history of what maybe thousands or maybe more, 10,000 years of human beings, and it's developed over that time. If it was inherently not safe, you would not eat it, and you would see the impact of that very quickly. But that doesn't mean that there aren't risks and challenges to our food systems, and I think some of this needs to be fixed. We are facing an increasing amount of food insecurity right now. So I think inherently food is safe. If you ask me if the food is of the right quality, are we getting sufficient diets, then the answer would be no. I think there is a lot to be done to improve that.
And I want to hold on that because nutrition versus, being filled or just eating, two different things. But before that, what are the most glaring food safety gaps in Kenya?
Okay, so a few which are inherently, well, first, I think the glaring gap in food safety is, especially when you look at how many people eat maize in Kenya or maize flour. I think we need to address the food safety issue there, especially with mycotoxins and aflatoxins, right? So that is a risk that we pose. The other concern is around the quality of food. Can we afford a diet that is diversified enough? And you look at the mass Kenyans, especially with the economic burdens that people face and rising food prices globally, right? What is happening to the diet is it's getting more and more restricted. So it goes to your thought earlier that we may be filling our bellies, but are we getting nourishment? And we probably aren't getting. So as much as it's not an immediate threat, a health threat, it is something that is more longer term. What happens to you as you age? And the fundamental building blocks are missing. And that's why what we work in, the program I'm leading with Millers for Nutrition and Food Fortification is trying to tackle the hidden hunger. So bellies are full. Yes, but the hidden hunger is there's some essential nutrients that are missing in the diet. Also because ideally you want people to eat a diversified diet and not just eat staples. But frequently people can't afford it. So we're trying to reduce that gap. The third one is more of a insecurity issue. There's also a segment of the population which cannot even have access to any amount of food, right? So we can't leave them out. We need to do something around fixing food systems such that access to food is there. So for the majority, yes, the bellies are full, and there are things to do there to improve the quality of the diet. But we also have in Kenya people who can't even get their bellies full.
That's true from the get-go.
Basics,
Yeah, it seems like it's parallel issues, right? So it's food insecurity. It's the fact that there's, what did you call them, hidden hunger.
Right.
And, you know, you've said that there's something you're doing. Are you trying to address all these? I mean, hunger, I know, is a bit more complex. But yes, what is the most urgent need, even as we kind of seek to address the other ones?
I think you can't sequence it. I think you need to address all of them. If you ask me personally, in terms of the program I lead, whether we're addressing all of it, no. Okay. We are addressing a very basic and scalable area of that, which is taking basic staple foods. All of us, at some point in the day, are consuming a little bit of edible oil. We're consuming some maize flour or wheat flour. You'll have a slice of bread or something. Some of us will have a little bit of rice. So if you look at those basic things, the area that I work on at TechnoServe is to try and see what can we do to make that better. So that's our highway to improving the diet. It's scalable, it's very cost effective. What personally and the project we don't handle is the more macro issues like hunger and access, food insecurity, which has so many confounding factors. I mean, it could be climate change that could be affecting that. It's conflict sometimes. It's just infrastructure which is not getting the right food to the people at the right prices. So, of course, and we need multiple partners and a whole food system to work.
Right. When did a balanced diet become not enough in the sense of the word? Because, yeah, growing up it was like, if your plate is more green than it is maybe brown and white, you know, you're on the right path. But more and more, people need supplements. We need to fortify foods. We need... What's happening? When did when did it become not sufficient to just eat a balanced diet?
Let me flip that, and maybe it's a rhetorical question. But if I look at the Kenyan dietary patterns, when was the last time we actually had a balanced diet?
Ever.
I
was
don't
balanced
think,
diet?
If you look at equity, right, and you look at like most people, not a few of us who may be privileged to have access to a balanced diet or can afford a balanced diet, I don't think in the last few decades we have actually achieved that for the entire nation. Look at the cost of an egg these days. Can all families in Kenya afford to give an egg to their child every day? Can we afford? We produce a lot of milk. Can we afford every child going to school with at least a glass of milk? So the question is, it has not been a balanced diet for a long time. The other thing, and some of the nutrition food studies are showing, is that when you look at farming practices and all that, the world is under pressure to grow more and more food, to feed more and more people. We're facing with climate change and also soil deficits and nutrient soil deficits. So actually the food tables that were maybe done in the 1920s or something, even the nutrient content of a carrot in the 1900s is very different from a nutrient content of a carrot today. So even if you think that you're eating a nice salad or a diversified diet, you're not getting the nutrients in there. So the question is, it has not been a balanced diet for a long time.
While. Okay. That is it's an answer to my question for sure. Yeah, because I think I am operating with like the plate that they drew in the 20s or 30s or 50s. And it's like, that chart. Like, I should be good to go.
But was there more access to... I mean, I know Riz has spoken. I was going to say, was there more access to nutritious food? 100%. Maybe that's what we're grappling with. Is maybe it wasn't a balanced diet, but it just seems like the quality continues to dip or be questionable. So maybe it was an access to nutritional food question. that existed.
I mean, the quality has gone down. That's probably a fact. But also, I think in the economic sense, I think what have we seen? Since 2019, we have seen like maybe 40-50% increase in food prices globally. How do families cope with that? Our incomes haven't grown by that much, right? So we also compromising on quantity, maybe. And then what we are doing is making the choices. So that also creates a third dimension to nutrition. Is not only outright hunger and hidden hunger, but when food prices increase, not only do you substitute with sometimes those families that have taken lower amounts of food, but also those that still have a little bit of money, they're making the wrong choices. They're eating high calorie, low nutrient index foods. So we're filling our bellies because we think that, okay, we don't want to go hungry with starch, with fat. But when you look at what we call high nutrient index, low calorie foods, they're more expensive generally. So you cut down on that. And that
Give us examples of those foods.
So like, let's say fresh fruits and vegetables, right? Or protein in your diet. So whether it's eggs or meat or something, or milk, that's more expensive. So in terms of pound per shilling, you can get more flour, right? So what we then do, and then also globally sugar consumption is increasing, right? So our diet is, from an economic point, we're eating low nutrient density, high calorie foods, or it's also convenient sometimes. Right? There's a lot of processed foods out there, and to make it cheap and accessible, it's all over the market. We are consuming more and more. In the cities, we are doing that, right? And that creates obesity. Right? So we have then a large tsunami of non-communicable diseases coming into that. And actually, if you look at a very hungry person who's dietary insufficient, and you look at somebody who looks actually maybe overfed and who looks bigger, they actually have underlying same issues. They are undernourished. So it's not only about calories, it's about nourishing yourself properly.
It's the quality of it, and that's what you meant.
Is everything.
I have some questions, but I think before I even get to those questions, let me first understand what Millers for Nutrition is. What is it, and what is it that you do?
Okay. So Millers for Nutrition is a program that tries to build a coalition. So first of all, how do we define millers? We say millers are processors of basic food commodities that are on the plate on a daily basis. So we're looking at maize flour, wheat flour, edible oil, rice increasingly becoming popular in Kenya. Salt we're not working on, but salt is also a commodity that will be in your diet on a daily basis, but Kenya has actually done very well with salt iodization. So we take that and say, well, that's already what people are eating. We are not saying that that's the only thing people should be eating. And the idea, so Kenya introduced laws and mandates to fortify these, to add essential micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals. We're talking about vitamin A, iron, zinc, and all that. But for a long time, a lot has been done in that space. A lot of our food is getting fortified because it's the law, but it's not consistent. So Millers for Nutrition is a program that is trying to work with the very producers of that food. So we're trying to build a coalition of them, but also link them with the system around them. So you have input suppliers, you have premix suppliers, you have equipment suppliers, and all that. And Millers for Nutrition as a coalition is trying to gather the crowd around that to make fortification an easier reality. And when it's done well, it's making it more of a rewarding experience for millers.
When you say it's the law, does the law prescribe if I'm selling a kg of flour, it should contain this much vitamin A, B, C, D.
Yes.
It prescribes down to the letter.
Yes.
Okay. So then inconsistencies then come in the millers and the producers doing things differently.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very we don't find it uniform.
Okay.
So the law is not only very clear, it specifies exactly how much vitamin A should be in flour or in edible oil, how much iron should be there, how much zinc, how much B vitamins should be there. And Kenya's its laws are pretty good. And not only that, but they're aligned with the East African community.
We need to get a jar.
Our laws are great.
Yes.
Implementation is the issue.
Well, every time we say we have great laws,
that's true.
The implementation is a problem. We just put
Yes.
some pennies in there. We'll be millionaires born by the end of the year.
I want to join that club.
Right.
So that is the execution is the problem, right? And there are many reasons for whether it's knowingly people doing it not right, unknowingly, because sometimes even the input quality is wrong, right, of the premix quality in Kenya, which we find when we work with millers. We find that it doesn't meet the standards because you're lacking a few things in there. But you look at the process of the miller, it's perfect. But the premix they use and the nutrients they use to add in there are devoid of it.
Yeah.
So execution is the problem.
I know Eric was coming with a few questions. I wanted to quickly ask, not that we want to point fingers, but then who does carry the blame when unsafe foods reach the shelves? Is it a mix of people? You've talked about there's a number of reasons why, but ultimately, who does the buck stop with? It's the same people who implement the law, or are we blaming a cross-section? Right. Blaming, quote unquote, a cross-section of people?
I mean, I think it's a shared responsibility, right? So we expect millers to do the right thing because the law is guiding them. But is that really too naive a thinking then? Should the regulators also not be policing this better? Do also the consumers have the responsibility to check what they're eating, right? So, like, there are several things that we are doing in the program that again, it's not the panacea of solutions, but where do we find we can work the most? First, we start working with the millers and saying, okay, what would be the reasons for them not doing it right? And take away those reasons away. So we frequently get an argument that, oh, fortification is costly. I need to add this nutrient as much as it's the law cut corners. The other way to skin that cat is to basically, we work with millers to say, all right, where you're losing money is actually not fortification. Fortification costs 0.5% of the cost of production. If you look at the Kenyan production context, in maize milling alone, nearly all the maize mills are operating at 50% installed capacity. They're not operating properly, they're inefficiently run, which increases energy utilization. Milling is an energy intense thing. So our calculations say that millers lose in all of those other factors combined about 10 to 15% of the efficiency and cost of producing. And yet they're screaming around 0.5% of fortificant. Right. So that's the first gap we need to bridge. The second one is working with the regulators, right? That actually millers want fair regulation because those that are doing fortification well want the regulatory system to work. If it doesn't work, they are at an unfair market advantage. They have competitors who can get away with things. And that actually erodes away the incentive to fortify. So working with regulators to try and build a more efficient system, not also expecting them to be able to sit at every mill on every minute of the day. That's impossible. That would take a tremendous amount of resources, which organizations or institutions like Kenya Bureau of Standards would never have.
Don't have. We have a caller just before we lose them. Who was the caller again, Jackso? Somebody from Nairobi. Paul? Paul from Nairobi. Good morning, Paul. Do you have a question or contribution that you'd like to make today?
Good morning, Janet.
Morning.
Perfect. Yes. I just want to make a contribution. Great. I mean, I feel that as a country, we always get to the right step, then move 3 or 4 steps forward, 6 backwards. And I'll explain my point. we have the potential, capacity, and the infrastructure to be food sufficient. The whole thing about 5 years political cycle really confuses people, because if that is separated, then people can be educated on the importance of doing it themselves. And I'll give you case in point, Uganda. I've lived and worked in Uganda. Uganda is food sufficient for the better part of the country. Why? Because they identified their staple food as banana, and no one can ever go hungry. You know what I mean? Look at a country like Burkina Faso. It's only taken 2 years. And Ibrahim Traore has identified that being food sufficient is so important, and now the investment is fully in agriculture. Right. And you can see the result. So Kenya is not isolated. If we incentivize our own farmers to be able to have food, we have sorted out 70% of this issue. The issue of fertilizer started very well. That is the first thing to do. Because commercially, when you talk about unga and all these other commercial foods that we produce for the over the shelf, that is only 20 to 30%. So my comment and my contribution is, let us invest in the whole incentivizing of our 70% of our farmers who are in the villages, and let them be food sufficient. This problem will go away. The rest is easy.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Your reactions?
Your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good point, and I think that brings me to the thought of, like, so there is this constant conflict in Kenya. Kenya produces, if I work in the wheat sector more, so I'll be able to comment on that, is Kenya grows some wheat, right? And there's local production of wheat. But it's still a deficit. We're only able to grow about 10-15% of the wheat that we consume. So we do face with imports. But then still, even though we don't grow enough, and millers would not want to import straight away. The local sourcing would be the first go-to position, but still there is this tension where farmers locally complain that they are not able to find the market for it. And when you then go under it, that's where you need to get into looking at agriculture practices in general. Yes, most of our sub-Saharan African countries, agriculture is a fundamental vocation. It is the fundamental development activity. And we hope to get into higher income countries through agriculture. But look at wheat in Kenya. We are not competitive in the global sense. Our infrastructure doesn't support it. Our farming practices are still poor. Call it yield is probably the lowest in Kenya when you compare to high wheat growing regions. Then you have infrastructure to deal with. Then you have management, the know-how of farmers. So I think, yes, it's not just, and in that point, it's not enough to just provide subsidies to farmers. We can't keep them on life support forever by just a financial subsidy or creating artificial incentives where, for example, in the wheat industry, there is policy, which is good as a short-term measure. We need to buy locally. If you exhaust the local supply, you get the quota to import more. But in the long term, without reform in the agriculture sector, same problem will happen is, can we afford to give subsidies forever? But where are the investments to make agriculture more competitive?
Very true.
That's it. I want to come to my questions, and which is linked to what you've just said, farming practices, right? So you, at the point where you're dealing with a processor, and the processor is then milling, let's use the example of maize. Milling maize to give us unga, for ugali, uji, and the rest. They will be dealing with just the basic maize grain. What's the quality of that grain that our processor is dealing with? Does it have the necessary nutrients? Is it safe enough for them to basically start the process of giving us the unga? Or are we dealing with a thing that is just white, but it has nothing? So they are forced then to go and look for very many things to make it maize flour.
Nutritional quality of the maize grain itself is not a huge issue, I would say. But the big issue is the one aflatoxin. So millers, any serious miller who's really concerned about the quality of their product, and because this is a food product, if you're in the food industry, it's a given that you need to put something out as safe. And so they're dealing with having to reject a lot of the maize.
Because it has aflatoxin.
If it has aflatoxin.
What causes aflatoxin?
It starts right from planting it. Aflatoxin is naturally occurring in the soil. So if the maize touches the soil or comes into contact with the soil, it will have aflatoxin. It starts right from planting, but a large proportion of that comes into the post-harvest handling. When do you harvest the maize? How do you harvest it? And then we don't have storage. So it's in gunny sacks all over, kept on the floor. When it rains, high moisture, aflatoxins love it. It's a fungus, so it loves heat, moisture. It picks up. By the time it comes to the mill cannot do much with it. They can reject a quantity.
Yes.
And they try and through processing, I mean, many mills are using even optical sorters these days. They can reduce that by 20% of bad grain. Aflatoxin is not something you can see.
Yeah.
So it's not the kernel looks different. But the other thing is...
Sorry, just before you go on to the other thought, I wanted to hang on the aflatoxin bit because I think we underestimate just how bad...
How toxic it is.
Yes, how toxic it is and how embedded it is in our agriculture. So perhaps thread for us. You've said, you know what, from the soil, right, into the maize as it grows. How many mills do reject maize for aflatoxins or have the capability to detect, right? And of that, how much of the maize on our shelves, if you know, right, likely has aflatoxins? How much animal feed, because that's the other thing that we discredit, right? That animal feeds do have maize that might have aflatoxins, and then thread that just on the aflatoxin thread alone.
Wow. How much is difficult to quantify. I can tell you that it is quite widespread, but it is not uniform. So you see, to detect aflatoxin, the method of detecting is there. They use a test kit for it. When you look at more organized, larger mills in Kenya, nearly all of them are doing that. They test nearly every bag of maize that is offloaded from the truck into the mill when the mill intake is there. The reason the way they test all the bags is they nearly sample all the bags, but they'll do 2 or 3 tests per truck. Now that's cost, but it's a cost you can't avoid.
Right.
They're more concerned about not the quantity that is in the truck, but if you introduce bad maize into a silo that has about 15,000 tons of maize grain into it, you're risking that clean product by introducing a bad product into it.
Right.
So that is done. Now, when they reject, what happens? When they reject, I have not seen a truck of maize being a quantity of like maybe 10, 15 trucks of maize being destroyed in the country ever. It's not being put into the ocean. It ends up in the supply chain. So what happens is the price goes down. One person rejects it, the trader reduces the price. Ultimately, there will be somebody who will say, this is too good a deal to pass on. And so it gets incorporated into the supply chain. Or it gets into the feed. Because our perception is that, if it's for human food, we take more controls, more precautions. But if you're feeding it to the animals, it's fine, let it pass. But therein lies the risk, like any toxin. So there are 2 things that you need to be careful about toxins. It's the chronic exposure that is more important. It's not the levels. Even a small amount of toxin, but if I give you poison little bit every day, that's more harmful than one-time exposure to a toxin.
Please don't repeat that.
Yeah.
Please don't repeat that. Just
leave it at that.
Yeah. But I mean, again, if it's one time high enough, it can kill you. But otherwise, like the other thing which is bad about toxin like any toxin, whether you look at arsenic or you look at aflatoxin or something, if you feed it to an animal, it's more dangerous because the animal concentrates it up. So a cow eating toxin, is then suddenly producing milk that has much higher toxin levels. Or if you eat that meat, it has much higher level of toxins. So we should be more careful with the feed, actually, or we should be careful across the board. But it's not something that we should say, oh, it's going into feed, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real food safety threat.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to thread it. I think we don't take enough care with aflatoxins. Yeah, and there's a gap there that we need to figure out.
We need to address.
Yes.
So back to the point of at the processor, at this point that the millers are dealing with it. So they'll have to reject some because of just the level of aflatoxin that they come with.
Right.
The ones that they accept and they retain, what food security issues are there? Safety issues?
Mainly after that point, if you have clean raw material, the safety issues could be in the processing, right? So, but very, very low. Most of them have enough controls, right? Are you introducing anything? But generally in the milling plant, in the food processing, you're not introducing anything. You're trying to take out as much as possible.
Okay.
So not much after that point.
Thereafter, in the market, because I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
So if we have tighter, better controls, one at farm level, that's one stage, and how we deal with post-harvest handling of our foods. Then the next one is at the point of milling and processing. If we have another level or layer of control there, do we need another layer of control past that in the market, coming all the way to my plate?
Yeah, I think integrity in the market is important, right? So fortunately, we don't see that to be a lot, especially in the packaged, like staple foods, that most of the flour that we buy in Kenya is already in a bag. The integrity is maintained from the time it's produced, milled, to the time it gets into your home. But in the past, there have been instances where there could be a risk of either adulteration in the market or something, especially when product is sold loose. So sometimes when I go around the market, I see rice is being sold like that, still open bag in the informal outlet. Somebody buys a bag. So there is a risk of contaminating it there, right? So and not much we see anymore with edible oil. And one of the ways we are working with, at least the formal processors, to prevent that is actually working on smaller package sizes.
I like that. Just hold that thought on the smaller package sizes so we can get a caller from Kitale. I think he has a question or a comment. What's the name of the caller, Jackso? All right, Patrick, good morning.
Hello, morning.
What's your question or comment for Riz?
First, I don't know the name of our guest, but I'm seeing some Zoom. I don't know the name of him.
His name is Rizwan.
Okay, good morning, sir. I have some question there. You know, in Kenya, your sickness, your matter of sickness is a business in Kenya. Somebody earns more from if you are sick, somebody earns there very big money from you. So my question is, do you have any mechanism to differentiate of the food from organic and this genetic food? Because if you can go to a supermarket, we have a label, this is a GMO food and this one is organic. Because organic food to get it is very expensive in Kenya. And if you use organic, because people living in urban area and those who live in rural like me, you find people who are feeding in healthy food is found in the results like this. But those who live in urban, they feed GMO food. So I want you to make a mechanism in Kenya
of identifying. Patrick, we get your question.
Okay.
Patrick, thank you. We get your question. It's about organic GMO, prevalence of it. Is there proliferation of GMO food in the market? That's always
an issue, right?
And are there ways of identifying what's organic, what's GMO, what's this, what's that?
Not for a consumer, no, not in a shop. But there are so many misconceptions around GMO as well. This is a constant debate and all that. So there's some, it depends on what GMO are we talking about. So in like cross-crop breeding, for example, is genetic modification, but it's a more natural process. And so inherently, I don't think we are there to, we're there yet to be seeing that as a threat. Our basic threats are much more closer to our eyes right now. Things like aflatoxins, things like just poor handling of food. And all that. I think we need to address those basic ones first before we get into GMO. The other thing is sometimes marketing of food is misleading. So I shop, when I'm shopping here in Nairobi, there's so many products, even as somebody working in the industry, there are labels around, oh, this is organic or this is non-GMO and all that. How do I tell?
Yeah.
We don't have the sophistication of food traceability in there. Is that an immediate threat? Probably not. It's more of a marketing ploy. There are also weird things out there which are creating this misconceptions around what is healthy and what is not. So the other day I was looking at some edible oil products in the market, and this is vegetable oil, so it's either palm oil or it's sunflower or it's corn oil or something. And it says no cholesterol. Of course, it's a vegetable product. It will not have cholesterol. Yes, it has saturated fat in it. Your body can convert it into cholesterol. Cholesterol ultimately is an animal product. So you can't have it, but then it's creating this misconception. It's creating this false...
Hold up. Let's not just cruise past that.
Which parts?
The no cholesterol.
The no cholesterol
Because when you read the pack, that to me is like a green, well, it was before now, a green flag. No cholesterol. But yes, you're right. We have cholesterol as animals. So then plants don't have cholesterol.
Plants don't. But
so
the idea is you can convert into cholesterol.
Right. There's fats that you can convert into cholesterol. So it's a marketing ploy because when I see no cholesterol, I'm like, this
is good for me. It's healthy.
I've been caught.
You've been. You were talking about how you're addressing. I think just before the caller, you were making a.
Yeah, so I think we need to address the more basic food safety challenges, right? So trying to, for example, work with producers to say they're responsible for the integrity of the product right down the supply chain and what the consumer gets. So a frequent challenge was bulk, right? So informal retailers will buy in bulk because that's cost effective. But the household is not able to buy large quantities. They're buying their daily ration from that. It creates a system where somebody then opens a bag and decants it. But then you don't have the product integrity there. So we can work with the millers to say, put out smaller packaging. And that's actually getting increasingly popular. If you look around staple foods, I think 20 years ago, you couldn't buy a bag of salt less than 5 kilograms or 2 kilograms in the country. Now you can buy a salt packet, 200 grams. It makes it more affordable.
The Kadogo economy.
Kadogo economy is just wonderful. The other way also, one of the other challenges in this is you can make good food. And fine, us living in more urban settings and all that, we shop differently and all that. But even in urban areas or rural areas, 70% of the Kenyan population buys their food from informal outlets. This is the kiosks out there and all that, mom and pop stores. So one win-win of this is millers are saying, well, we produce good food. Are we getting it to the people that we need to get to? The Kadogo economy and all that. And so we actually are working on that. So TechnoServe has the entrepreneurship program. We had I think about 60,000 Duka owners, National Duka organization and all that. Said, wow, here's a great opportunity. Millers want to put their product in this sector. Why is this sector not able to carry this product? So these the issue becomes a business issue. Can they fund inventory and all that? So what we are now trying to do is connect validated millers to this sector and saying, it is not enough that you produce the food. You need to get that onto the shelves for an easy access to people. So all these issues come about. Packaging gets sorted out, smaller packaging, what can they afford? Small duka owners say, we can't. The minimum order quantity from large mill is like half a truckload or something. Can they get it a few bags every week that I'm able to sell? So if we connect it properly, it works. And there is beauty, that's where you actually harness the value of technology in the country. You know, things like M-Pesa and all that have opened so many businesses. And if we use it wisely, some of the challenges are in the past now. You can connect people very well. You know, you have examples of Uber right now, right? And so it's so easy to get a Boda or an Uber or something. Distribution and all that is easy. So that's a dimension we are beginning to explore, but I think it has a lot of potential.
It's very, very interesting because if you think about the retail sector in Kenya, the retail sector is basically just addressing that final, it's a corner duka shop.
Right.
That corner duka shop is not selling in large quantities.
Right.
For very many in rural areas, even in urban areas, in the low-income areas, you'll find that people are going to buy just what I need for now.
Right.
And the reason for that is it would have very many things. Storage capacity and also the income level. So if then the bigger the processors and all would start thinking about the end consumer and how this comes to the end consumer, it works well. The only issue then again is if I start making smaller and smaller SKUs and started doing 20-gram soap, that's a cost of packaging, you know, more packaging and all.
Right.
So what's the link then? What's the technology solution here? Because I am a big processor. I do not want to start dealing with now. I have to package this thing in
20 grams.
In 20 gram, in 500 gram unga. But the person who's buying wants to buy 500 gram unga. What's the solution? What's the technology solution here?
So technology solution is easy. You can package anything these days. If you look at Asian countries, they package shampoo on a daily product. Not that I'm a user of that. But
you require smaller quantities.
In my case, much smaller quantities. So the technology is there. What they are trying to optimize is also, yes, there is one of the technological challenges is increased packaging material, and they're sensitive. So we also careful about the environmental footprint, right? You don't want to put out a lot of packaging material out there. So that's one of the balances we need to optimize. The other one is that, yes, a machine can bag smaller, but the throughput really reduces for them because it's per, these automatic packaging machines. If you're doing 1 kilogram, it can do 1,000 bags per minute or something. But if you do 500, you'll still be able to just do 1,000 bags per minute. So your productivity goes down. So that is a real factor. That's a business decision. But the issue is optimizing. Around profitability, the smaller packs are more profitable. For the business.
Okay.
So that's one of the things we're working on. What is the optimum size? But you're absolutely right. The limitations of this smaller price is daily income wage earners who can't storage again. You would get a great deal if you could buy a 50-kilogram bag of sugar in the market, and that'll last you 6 months or something. But would you store it in your house?
Where do you
and when the day you need to buy it, do you have that much money to buy a big bag, right?
I'm just trying to think whether it exists like a real-time food safety database, because I think that would be justice.
Right.
Access. Just like being able to have it right there to know.
It ties to, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mike, I wanted to ask him a question on how we fix the traceability issue. Like he said, we don't have traceability at all. Knowing what came from where, you just kind of hope for the best. And I think it ties into, a database of sorts. But yeah, we should have traceability systems. How do we fix that?
Yeah. I mean, one small area that I'll give you an example we're working on is in fact, on September 16th, we're going to reward the Kenya Millers Fortification Index participants. So right now we have about 30 companies. This year we included the oil companies. And so this is the second year we're working with wheat and maize flour millers and now edible oil companies. What that first process is, it's an industry self-regulation step. And the industry participates on this voluntarily. They answer 160 questions on food safety, processes, people management, their governance structure, and we actually do product testing for that. And then we develop an index. That index is public information. One of the challenges we have is consumer is picking a branded product and they don't know whether that's good or not. Who's tested that? And every product has the same label claim on it.
Right.
So one, we want it public facing. So it gives a choice to the consumers to be able to say, which products am I using? How are they ranked?
Yeah.
The other thing is,
Our index, Mariam, comes in.
It does. It does.
And then the other thing is that detailed level of feedback is also given back to the industry to say, where are the improvements? Because executives at the food industry level like that feedback. They say, where are my gaps? Where should I be improving? So it helps that. But it's one small step towards food traceability. I think ideally, if you can link many of these things together, ultimately giving the power to the consumer is very powerful, whether they are a small consumer or not. When you start voting with your wallet, it becomes a very powerful, and we need a collective market. If you make it transparent on this is where your food is coming from, it actually becomes a business incentive for all food companies to do better.
To do the same. I think we have, there's one line that could start addressing the issues of traceability. So granted, our food is produced by small scale farmers. So somebody has a small plot and they're producing food and they're taking it to the market. But then one way of starting there is aggregating these farmers in cooperatives. So if a cooperative then says the Kimana Onion Farmers Cooperative, they have a list of their smallholder farmers and where the food is coming from. They've done the basic check. So then you know that you're buying food from Kimana, you know you're buying food from the 2,000 farmers in Kimana. It can then go all the way.
Yes.
Cooperatives, you're right.
You're right.
Low-hanging
fruit right there. We're coming back just to see if you can have a last word, Riz, because we're out of time. But your world is next. Reviving Kenya's economy, unlocking capital for young innovators. That conversation is next on Your World with Winnie. Is Mikali around? Winnie and Mikali?
Yes, it's Winnie.
It's just Winnie.
Yes.
All right. So she'll be speaking to a few people, Pan-African impact strategist, planning expert, finance, economic and governance expert as well. But yeah.
Final word.
So final word will be on traceability. And I think what we are excited about is there is some good work. So when you talk about, so how do you aggregate small farmers into that? And there's some good young people, innovators working in Kenya around warehouse receipts. So I just recently heard about Agribora, for example, that is looking at warehouse receipts for maize farmers. If it starts at that fundamental level, that you're dealing with 1,000 farmers, they are fixing it more from a financial point of view and paying them, but all that. But as soon as they enter the mainstream and there's a record, it solves the problem for millers because they have one aggregation point. One of their biggest costs is aggregating from 1,000 farmers small bags of maize. If it starts there, I think we have hope in the chain.
Yes.
All right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's Rizwan Yusufali. You may know him as Riz, talking to us about food security, fortification, what we're doing around it. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you, team. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Right. That's it from us today. We also have Brian Eseli and Claudia Naisabwa next on Nation FM. We've told you about NTV Kenya. Tomorrow is Friday, so see you then, hopefully, 6 a.m. right here, NTV Nation FM, across our digital platforms.